Kukner. He's the production scheduler, and Omar Zayed, he is the assistant production scheduler. Um, so we're just gonna go ahead and dive into this. This is our scenario 220 business presentation. So going into what was supposed to happen, um, we wanted to obtain over 270,000 EBT. Um, and we also wanted to buy a fifth fermenter. Um, we did that in January, right at the beginning, and it took about 3 months to be completed. And we'll talk about that in the next slide too. Um, Potentially take out a loan. We were talking about taking out a loan, but we didn't end up taking one out. And again, we'll go over all of it in later slides. Um, and finally, don't have as much loss of inventory as we had last time. Last time, Professor Brown brought it up to our attention that we had way too much loss of inventory, even though we came in first place and we passed the EBT requirement. We had an abundance of inventory. I think we had above 13,000 CS cases left over. Um, yeah, so those are some things that we want to focus on for this this past simulation. Eli, you want to take it over?
Yeah, let's go on to slide two over here. What did end up happening? So we actually ended up uh, with a total of 309,000 EBT. Not too shabby. We ended up getting first place out of all the teams. We did not have a great loss of inventory, which was one of our main problems in previous years. As you can see in the graph that we ended up putting, we were very consistent with all of our inventory, especially for Taj and Edgar. And it is pretty tough to stay consistent with Alley Cat, but we did have no lost sales, which was very impressive for the group here. And another big plus that we were having trouble with in the past was no lost sales. Um, Obviously, you're going to have lost sales throughout the year. Never know what's going to happen, different sales, different weather conditions. But as you can see, our largest lost sale month was with Edgar. It was only 750. I know it sounds like a large number, but through a month, that's actually not bad at all. Very impressive actually. So proud of the boys. I'm gonna hand it over to Omar over here.
I got it. So on slide 4, we're talking about the facts. So we didn't end up taking a loan out at all. We were told we could this simulation, and that was where it was introduced, but we didn't have to, and that ended up helping us out because we obviously came in first, and that was just it was seen as something if it was an option if you wanted to do it, but in the long run, it didn't help us out. Buying a fifth fermenter was also what we did in January, and it was done being built in March. That was a big help compared to the other simulations that boosted up the EBT to 309,000. Um, I'll hand it over to Austin.
So just circling back to some things, so these are some options that we had throughout the simulation. One, apply for a loan. As I mentioned in the first slide, we thought about applying for a loan. Obviously, our EBT was struggling for the first few months, especially before we had before we got that fifth fermenter. But overall, we just decided to stick through it. I mean, we knew that in the warmer months, that EBT was about to shoot up, especially with that fifth fermenter. Um, and I'm really glad that we held off. I think it was a great decision that we made collectively. Um, Other teams may have applied for a loan, and I think it only hurt them and, raised our cause to reach that first place. Um, Second option was we order a fermenter, and this is something that we just agreed upon before the simulation even started. We bought the fermenter in January, had it ready by March, and that really just helped a lot. I mean, that just helped significantly. And then change in inventory. And I think the one thing that we decided to do is we produce or we continue to keep producing all the way out until the end. And that's something that Professor Brown told us to do. And yeah, it helped. It helped a lot. We kept producing. Um, Again, if I would do it all over again, I would probably say we should produce less of Alley Cat in those colder months and just focus on Edgar and Taj Mahal because typically they do better in those colder months. But yeah, overall, great simulation. I'm gonna hand it back to Eli.
All right, so on to slide 6 here. Why was there a difference in our last from our last couple simulations? We were able to buy a fifth fermenter, which helped out tremendously with our EBT, as we earlier stated. Stayed on time following the production schedule. We actually made a year's worth of production, like we scheduled production orders along with the pricing timing. And it actually worked out in our favor. Increased production even in colder months. Even though we did overproduce Alley Cat slightly, I think that did help out balance out with Edgar and Taj significantly. Again, very, very little lost sales. And the last one here followed our production plan, pricing, timing exactly, as I stated earlier. From our spreadsheet that we made, we calculated timing and pricing and did very good for us. Hand it over to Omar for our last slide here.
So what can be learned about this simulation? Start off, next time we need to produce less Alley Cat in the colder months. So we just overproduced during the colder months, and we could have had the option to focus on both Edgar Al and Taj Mahal compared, and that would have helped us out with sales. And that's what the next objective is. We just need to focus on Edgar Al and Taj Mahal since they make more sales in the colder months. Another thing that can be learned from our simulation was we don't always have to take out a loan. Other groups took out loans and they ended up having to pay for most of the simulation and didn't end up, even some groups didn't even have enough to pay them out. And that was a big thing that helped us out coming first. The last objective that can be learned, inventory from the previous year. That helped. We didn't even have to buy copious amounts of each ale. Instead, we could keep the ration the same for each product. So we just didn't end up having to pay more for the amount of products when we didn't need them. We didn't have a surplus of anything this time around. Hand it back over to Austin.
All right, yeah. Well, I think that sums up everything pretty well. Once again, we're Team 8, and yeah, this was our presentation. Thank you for listening. Let's go ahead and stop the recording.